What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Buckeye-Film-Breakdown. As always, I am Jeremy. One side of the screen, we got Jake. Other side, we got Coach Slate. Wanted to hop on here as the Buckeyes have made a coaching hire and then talk a little bit of Julian Sayin in the quarterback room as we are about a month out from spring practice. So speaking of quarterbacks, Buckeyes are actually adding him as an assistant tight ends coach, but they are bringing in Thomas Morton, who was the quarterback's coach at Samford this past year, considered to be an up-and-comer in the coaching world. Younger dude, played at Southern Missouri, Southern Mississippi. That was in 2019, 2020. He graduated, hopped right into the coaching world after that, has spent some time at Troy, a little bit of time at Auburn, and then at Samford. So he's coming to OSU to work as a tight ends coach, which, as we have said in the past, is kind of that spot where you bring a guy in to get him comfortable in the coaching world.
Yeah, and I think this hire you bring in a young guy, he's going to be hungry. Obviously, he came from a program like Auburn, spent some time with Golish. I think he's going to come in and he's going to take a little bit of the load off of Coach Key. And I truly think that Coach Key is going to be in a position where he's going to be learning from Coach Arthur Smith. I think that is something that Coach Day is really adamant about. With these NFL coaches, when you bring them in, you just don't know how long they're going to be there. It could be 1 year, it could be 2 years. You just don't know. And so you want to be able to groom and get ready a younger coach. And I think Coach Key is somebody that Coach Day has identified as that. And so if you can bring somebody in and then you add in the GOAT himself, Coach Hinton, as well to help out with the tight ends, you are able to allow Coach Key to really focus on supporting the offensive coordinator just a little bit more. So this one makes a lot of sense to me. And it's always good to see that young coaches get their opportunity at a big school because, this guy's probably got aspirations of being an offensive coordinator himself.
Yeah. I was looking at he replaced Wendy Lauren, who left to go to Old Dominion. So filling space, taking the opportunity to add new voices to your offensive group, right? It's a pretty big theme, right? You got Cortez Hankton, Arthur Smith now, and then another. Just again, new eyes, new thoughts, new ways of doing things for an offense. It hasn't struggled, but I think they're trying to clearly find some competitive edges this year that they weren't able to maybe land on last year, which I think we've expanded upon pretty thoroughly about what Arthur Smith will bring, and obviously some excitement about what he's able to do, take an NFL thought process back into the college game. You never know how that's going to totally work out, but for the sake of where we think the mesh point is with him and Ryan Day, it's intriguing at minimum, right? And obviously Hankton's been around a lot of good receivers, can probably help find some elements of the game of these guys that are going to need improvement, right? In ways they hadn't thought about, which is obviously something you want. Just again, different lens, different thoughts, and it's clear they probably had about 1,000 applicants for this role. So he had to do something to impress them, had to come in there. I mean, I don't think it's a nepotism hire by any stretch, or we would have heard about it in some way, shape, or form. So he came in, he impressed, and there you go, man. We'll see what you got, buddy. We'll see if they do any more focal stories on him and give him a chance to meet everybody a little bit more in the next month or so when they get back out there for the spring. But it sounds like it's a complete staff, and now it's just take your vacations, get your breaks, get ready, get dialed up, man, and here comes March, right?
Yeah. And hope the Raiders don't hire Matt Patricia.
Yeah. And he was at Auburn under Hugh Freeze. Sorry, I said Golish. He was under Hugh Freeze. And I know Hugh Freeze he's got some controversy, but the guy can coach ball. So anytime you can coach for somebody who's been around the game for a while, I think it bodes well for you when you go in these interviews, regardless of what the previous coach's track record was.
Yeah, no doubt, man.
Well, and you obviously are starting to see a trend with these young guys who, obviously he didn't have a ton of college playing experience. I want to say he took a handful of snaps, but sometimes those are the best coaches. Not every guy is JT Barrett, who played a boatload of snaps, but is so cerebral. So I'm very interested to see. Obviously, you're not going to have a true gauge on his footprint that he's putting down as an assistant. But if you see some movement in the staff next year, say Arthur Smith moves on, Coach Key becomes the OC, and say this guy gets promoted to your tight ends coach right off the rip, then he obviously did something right. Because Ryan Day is nailing hires pretty much every time they come open.
Well, Chris Hatcher at Samford, where he was, is like the air raid guru too. So like, there's some real experience with thinking about the passing game in a different way, right? And trying to lay and implement some things that could help them. If they're playing with tempo this year, we think they might. Air raid principles and the concepts about air raid where you're mirroring routes or you're giving backside concept, think less, play faster. You can see the mesh point there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it all lines up, just like the Arthur Smith mesh. I think Ryan Day has identified some areas that he wasn't happy with last year, and he's shown a propensity throughout his tenure to make the changes when they need to be made. And this doesn't appear to be any different. So I think we're going to see the concepts will obviously remain the same for the most part, but I think you're going to see the nuances change.
Yeah, I agree. And we're going to dive into some Arthur Smith film here soon, so we can really see, what that offense is going to be about. But there's definitely going to be some similarities between what we've been doing and what Arthur Smith will bring. But I will tell you this, from the brief time I've been watching, there is some creative things that he's going to bring to the run game, and I'm excited about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things we want to do as we head into spring ball, obviously it's a somewhat quiet period for the Buckeyes, especially, now that there is, yes, there's a February signing day, but it's nowhere near the spectacle that it used to be. So you don't have a whole lot of meat on the bone there to discuss. We want to start looking at the position groups headed into spring. And what better way to start than with quarterback? Julian Sayin comes out in his redshirt freshman season, and for the most part, there was a lot of good. There were times that he showed his youth, but we wanted to dive in, look at some clips. Slate's rounded up, I think, 10 to 12 clips. We want to look at those, address the good, the bad, the ugly, and then looking forward, we have some questions that we're going to address every time we talk about each position group. So as we look at the film, I am going to kind of sit back and punt this to Jared and Jake, and take it away, guys.
You just called me Jared. That was weird.
That was real weird.
We're using government names tonight, folks.
Listen, he went to the Heisman ceremony, so like you're grading on a curve here, right? Ohio State's rich history of quarterback play, we all know that. It goes without saying, even what Kyle McCord was able to do in a year wasn't good enough, right? So like, the expectations for this position are probably unrealistically unfair, and he still met them and probably exceeded them. So to be fair to him, who I was hypercritical of, because we'll talk about the last two games, and I still do have some concern, he's really good. He can do at a baseline a bunch of things at the college level that are really, really good. And for the majority of the year, he was exceptional. And you can say what you want about the wide receiver talent, which is fair. Carnell's going to go in the top 10. Next year, the other guy who wears the jersey number 4 is going to be in the top 5. I get it. But the offensive line had moments this year of inconsistency.
Yep.
Right? They did not run it as well as many quarterbacks who have played the position in front of him. I would go so far, guys, as to say he played with the least dynamic backfield. Boy, I don't even know who to really compare. The run of running backs at this school, you guys tell me, man, your Ohio State tap-in knowledge is better than mine. Freshman year, maybe you can't even say that of JK because he was special as a freshman.
He was special.
Then you're going back to Ezekiel.
Special.
Then you're going back to Carlos Hyde. Were you going back to like the Fickle year? That's how far.
Yeah,
you might be, but it's tough. But you would agree with me. I understand what the baseline stats said for Bo Jackson. There's a conversation to be had about the running back room another day, but they were not the juggernaut in the run department that this place has traditionally been. And you can't really overlook that when you are starting a first-year quarterback.
Yeah, you definitely can't overlook it. And that's something, I mean, we talked about it before we jumped on here. I think we need to see the run game improve. And I think that's why you bring in somebody like Arthur Smith. That is why this is we know that's what needs to change with this offense. We need to see more explosives. We need to see the making the first guy miss. I think that's why Will Howard was propped up so much, because we saw Travion and Quinshawn and that run game really explode. It's not that Will Howard was this exceptional quarterback. It was that he was a great leader, and our run game really helped propel him and during that playoff run. And so I think we need to see that moving forward. But like you said, I just want to echo some of those sentiments about Julian himself. Like, he is, man, I think he's really good. I want people to remember that he is a freshman. Like, I don't care if he's a redshirt freshman, true freshman, he is a freshman. And so some of the things that he did this year, what he was asked to do, what he processes, I mean, he handles himself like a true professional NFL quarterback. The way that he commands the huddle, the way that he practices. Obviously, he was fortunate enough to be down at spring practice and some fall practices, and just to see him command the huddle. I mean, the guy is special. And so he does some really, really good things. Obviously, we know there's some things he's got to work on, but for his freshman season, man, I cannot give him enough praise. Not perfect by any means, but man, he can play some ball. There's no doubt about that.
I mean, if you're grading it on guys like, I don't even think you have to curve it. If you just put it on like, this is how Ohio State quarterbacks are graded, I don't think you can have any season where you get invited to the Heisman ceremony. And I know it was a down Heisman year. I get it. Fine. Listen, it's an A- at worst.
Yeah.
It gets to an A+ when you put together two capstone games like Indiana and ultimately Miami. That's how you get into historic types of seasons, right? But
absolutely.
It's an A- year for a freshman. And again, I'm not even really grading it on the year in which he's starting. Whatever. I just think he met based on the elements around him, what he had to get used to, what he had to process, where he had to go. Some games where it was just, hey man, we got to throw this thing to win.
Yep.
It's a lot of that. And he stepped up to the plate in a big way. I mentioned this to you guys. I'm not sure if I've said it on the pod. Maybe you guys have said it too, but PFF charted him, and that is Pro Football Focus charted him as the most accurate quarterback since 2014 in their charting data. So he was 74.2% accuracy rate for them, which is not completion percentage, to be clear. That's just them charting, deeming an accuracy per throw standard. Justin Fields in 2020 had the second highest. Mac Jones then in 2020 had the third. Bo Nix, 23. Shador in 24. Haynes King in 24. And then Joe Burrow in 2019 is the list that he's on. Some obviously, as far as college production goes, pretty damn good.
That's a pretty solid list.
We're not talking NFL right now. We're just talking college football. And he had a 74.2 number this year. The second highest was Fields at 72.4. So it wasn't really very close.
Yeah.
So can we also simultaneously recognize the schedule was not the most difficult outside of the Texas game? We can all shake our heads and have nuance, right? We can do that. We can also recognize that there were some flaws in the two games we're going to talk about. But this is a young man getting his feet wet in big-time college football and having to drive the bus. He was not getting carried that often by the supporting cast.
Yeah.
So let's dig into the film, and I want you to highlight some of those strengths, Slate. But yeah, elaborate on that too as we start watching this.
Yeah, man, I definitely think, grade-wise, he was going to get an A. I think beating Michigan this year really put me into that A range for sure. Obviously, coming in first year as a starter, beating Michigan, no doubt, put him at an A for me. But this first clip we're going to see here, obviously we're going to focus on the Indiana and the Miami games. One of the things that we noticed from Buckeye Nation and a lot of the critics when it came to Julian Sayin was that he had happy feet. He played terrible. He didn't do so many different things in these two games. And I just want to make it very clear. There were a lot of things that he needed to do better. There is no doubt. But in these 2 games, he showed why he is one of the best quarterbacks in the country. And he also showed why he's still very, very young and he made some very young mistakes. Okay. So we're just going to highlight some of the good. We're going to highlight some of the bad. All right. And so here in this first clip, when we played Indiana, Indiana played a lot of cover 3. Okay. And so you're going to see them roll to cover 3 on this clip. They were finding ways to bring an extra guy into the pressure, into the front, because we were struggling up front like crazy. You can see, I mean, they're just mauling us up front. My guy Luke is on the ground. They got a twist going up front. And so they're trying to find ways to get the ball out semi-quick and giving Julian easy reads to one side of the field. Okay. And so this is a cover 3. They're reading that apex defender or the curl flat defender down here to the bottom of the screen. If he sits back underneath of Jeremiah, then Julian is going to bang the flat route to CJ Donaldson or Bo Jackson, whoever the running back is. If he expands with the running back, then he is going to throw the curl. This is something super simple, but you can see when he has a little bit of time, he's able to make these super reads. Now, super simple reads. The one thing I like about this, and I don't think Julian gets enough credit for this, look at the hit that he takes. He takes this big hit and delivers a strike to Jeremiah. That is, to me, a separator from an average quarterback and a very good to elite quarterback. If you're willing to sit into the pocket when your offensive line is not playing at its best and to take that kind of punishment, to me, that tells me a lot about you and the leader that you can be for that team. And so that was one of the really good plays, I think, that highlighted one of his strengths for me moving forward as his time as a Buckeye. This next one right
that's
here.
the single hardest thing. No, you're good. It's the single hardest thing to do, man, is to know you're about to wear a helmet under the chin and not react with your body, right? Not take something off a throw, stand in there and deliver it. I think there are times he needs to like, let me put it this way. When he has a good feel for what he wants to do with it, as in the coverage unfolds the way he's expecting it, he will do that. What he has to get better at is doing a little more of that, seeing through the chaos up front when he doesn't necessarily know the picture in the back half. But there are plenty of examples of people tell you he won't throw into getting hit. He can't. There's a throw in the Minnesota game that kind of puts this in perspective on a seam ball to Max Clare, where there's a loop stunt or a second level blitzer. I can't totally remember if it's a DB coming around, peels through the middle after protection is dictated where they're going to peel to, and there's nobody, and he's staring down the seam, and he wears that hit. He will do it. Is he proficient at it? Not enough right now. But again, young quarterback who's showing a mental capacity and a physical ability to take that and do it. So it can come. It can come with time. When you feel a little less panicky, when you get more experience and you get more snaps and you get more understanding of what it feels like in the biggest moments in the world, and you get more understanding of what that defense likes to do, or that linebacker is going to tell me what the guys behind him are going to be doing. That stuff comes. So it's not a thing where he'll never get there. All right, so this is a 3x1 down here. We're going to get some like exit motion. I like a little in and out. We used to call this yo-yo back in the day. Pull this guy to the flat. We're just running simple curl flat. So we got a middle guy. If we think they're going to be a red 2 team, right? Red zone 2. Get this too high umbrella. We'll send this SOB, this tight end. We're going to send his ass right up the middle, right? If he's open because they blitz us or they don't rotate to it, or he flops outside because he maybe that backer, the Mike backer jumps out, the will jumps out with the motion, you can throw it, right? If not, you're going to come back and we got pretty simple stuff like you're talking about curl flat. We got slant flat, right? And then you got a late check down, little arc release if they don't pressure us, that you can hit the back as a check down. So let's work through how he handles it.
Yeah. And so cover 2 for me, from a defensive perspective, cover 2, in my opinion, is and I'm telling some of my secrets, it is my favorite red zone defense. I'm not a huge man coverage guy down in the red zone unless we absolutely need to be. Cover 2 is something that can really cause a lot of issues for quick game throws. And that is where your quarterback needs to be able to create. if you are able to take away quick game throws, your quarterback needs to find ways to create in the pocket. One of the biggest criticisms of Julian in the last 2 games was that he didn't do enough with his legs. He did not do what Carson Beck did with his legs. This clip to me shows I can push back on that a little bit because look, Indiana does a really good job of taking away all of his easy throws. There is nothing open. All right. The slant flat is taken away right now. Everything is taken away in my vision line. There is nothing open. If there's anything open, it's a little check down over the middle to the back. And if I get that to him, it's going to get tackled right away. I have to find a way to create. And he does a really good job of escaping. And one of the great things about our receivers, they love getting the ball. And so they're not going to stop on the play, and they recognize that it's cover 2. And this is one of the things I love about Carnell Tate. He just finds the open void, and Julian does such a good job of keeping this play alive and finding him open in the back of the end zone. And also getting that pole runner out of there also creates, the safety now thinks he can push more to that open side where Jeremiah is. And once he sees Jeremiah is gone, now he thinks, okay, well, now I can really pull up a little bit more because he might check this down on the back. It allows Carnell to sneak behind him. Julian just does a really good job of extending this play for me.
Right on, man. I think a thing you want to see him get more comfortable with over time, right?
Yep.
Statue defenders is what we call these guys whose back is turned to the quarterback. He can't do anything because he can't see the football. Never be afraid to rip this. Give your tight end a chance. Put this thing up high. Let him throw it up and catch it. Now, is this a guy you trust to do that? Different discussion, right? You get a dynamic tight end in the career. You get it at the next level. That's a throw you'll see at the NFL. He can make some of those at the college level. As he comes up into this window, knowing that we have a pole runner right here who's not looking, this is a tight window, but you can throw this with the anticipation if you want. Not mad he didn't throw it, but you can rip that into that window if you want to. Now, when you come off of the right side, watching his eyes, right, he comes off of this, you say, hey, man, just check it down to your back. Well, there's a stunt going on here where they're bringing this long pirate stunt all the way back around, and you'll see that he is going to be right in his vision right when he gets the eyes back. See that? So it's not really that easy to find that check down the way you would like us sitting up here watching it from the bird's eye view. We can see it. Well, I'm just telling you, there's these giant human beings in front of a quarterback. Even if you're 6'5", they're still big guys, and it makes it hard, right? So it's a great job, like you said, and it's something you want to see him. And I'm sure there's a really great drill that Brock Purdy does as a shorter quarterback, and Julian is of the shorter variety, about feet anchored in the ground, moving, feeling, finding windows. He's going to need to get better and continue to grow, manipulating and sliding out, like you said here, Slate, and then finding those guys and just being able to create a play within a play. Quarterbacks can run one play, but can they get you another one by getting open? I think is pretty paramount to the entire operation. Looks like we have a little split back look, but it's out of 11 personnel. So it looks like we got this is probably Karsemic, I would imagine, over here. Then we got Ennis in the slot. We got 2-man to the right. So then we got a solo backside X. Let's see what we get route concept wise and then talk through it. So we're going to get a similar look. I don't really love, Slate, this pairing of a vertical out from the back into the curl window.
Yeah, not a big fan.
This is a muddied read right here that I really don't like. And if I'm a quarterback, I'm coming off of this, right? They got us triangled up. They got us bracketed. What's my next answer, right? That's what I'd like to find.
I wondered if this was a mistake.
Feels like it.
I wonder if this was a mistake, and I wonder if this was where they were supposed to get what we got on the first clip, that slant or that the quick out from the back, the flat route, from the back, and then the curl, because it looks like they're trying to get that same look again. I just think this might have been a mistake on the running back's part.
You really never see a vertical to an out from the back climb into 5 paired with some sort of curl that's working 12 to 10. That's just not good route disparity. Not what you want. So I think you're right about there being some sort of blunder. You also get Indiana being funky. Sunday stuff here, fire zone. They're going to bring the play side back, or they're going to drop that edge. Like once they drop him, And I know that this backer, like once I feel this out, man, I got 4 over it.
Yep.
I don't want anything to do with this side. Even though I know that safety's rolling middle, it's getting real congested. At this moment, I'm off it. Now, the place we'd like to go is we have a clear out and we got a dig running right underneath it. Now, again, this is stuff I break down on Sundays that you want to get to the backside dig, right? Now, the problem is the vision to this side is pretty damn good.
Yep.
Problem is it's not very good. Now, to get back right, we got to tackle getting his kind of losing his anchor over here. Stepping into this